He was a king who commanded an army so vast it was said to drink rivers dry. A man who ordered the sea itself to be whipped for daring to defy him. He built a bridge of boats a mile long, only to see it destroyed by a storm, and then, in a fit of rage, had the engineers beheaded. This is the story of Xerxes, the great king of Persia. But was he the arrogant, tyrannical madman portrayed in movies like 300? Or was he a brilliant strategist, a devout ruler, and a master builder whose legacy has been twisted by his enemies for millennia? The truth is far more complex and fascinating than you could ever imagine. We're about to journey back 2,500 years to uncover the real Xerxes, a man who ruled over an empire stretching from India to Greece, the largest the world had ever seen. Forget the myths, forget the legends. We're digging into the historical evidence, from ancient Greek accounts to Persian inscriptions, to separate fact from fiction. So, who was Xerxes I? Born into immense power as the son of Darius the Great, Xerxes wasn't just handed the throne, he had to secure it. Upon his father's death in 486 BC, he faced immediate challenges. Rebellions flared up in Egypt and Babylon, testing the new king's resolve. But Xerxes didn't just crush these uprisings. He did so with brutal efficiency. He marched his armies into Egypt, quelling the revolt and imposing stricter Persian control. Then he turned to Babylon, a city that had once been a jewel in the empire. After they rebelled, Xerxes was merciless. He destroyed their fortifications and melted down the sacred golden statue of their patron god, Marduk, an act that was both a political statement and a deep religious insult. These early campaigns showed the world that Xerxes was not a ruler to be trifled with. He was determined to hold his father's vast empire together, and he would use any means necessary to do so. But his biggest ambition lay to the west. Xerxes inherited not just an empire, but also a mission: to finish what his father had started and punish Athens for its role in the Ionian Revolt and their victory at the Battle of Marathon. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about expanding the Persian Empire to its logical conclusion and bringing the fractious Greek city-states under his King of Kings dominion. Preparations for this invasion were on a scale never before seen in human history. The Greek historian Herodotus, our primary, though often biased, source, claims Xerxes amassed an army of over 2 million men and a fleet of over 1,000 ships. While modern historians believe these numbers are greatly exaggerated, the force was undeniably colossal, perhaps numbering between 200,000 and 300,000 soldiers. This was a logistical nightmare, requiring years of planning, stockpiling supplies, and constructing massive engineering projects. The most famous of these was the Hellespont Bridge. To move his massive army from Asia into Europe, Xerxes ordered 2 pontoon bridges built across the strait. When a storm destroyed the initial structures, Herodotus tells us Xerxes flew into a rage, ordering the water to be whipped 300 times and having shackles thrown into the sea. This story is likely Greek propaganda, designed to portray him as an impious madman who thought he could command nature. A more likely explanation is that he was performing a ritual to appease the gods of the sea, or simply making a symbolic show of power for his troops. The bridges were rebuilt, an incredible feat of engineering, and his army crossed into Europe. Another amazing project was the Xerxes Canal, dug across the Mount Athos Peninsula to avoid the treacherous coastline that had wrecked a Persian fleet years earlier. The remains of this canal are still visible today, a testament to the incredible resources and ambition of the Persian king. Hey, we're diving deep into some incredible history here. If you're finding this as fascinating as I do, and you want to join our explorations into the ancient world, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second, but it tells YouTube you love this kind of content, and it helps our community of history lovers grow. Let's make sure these amazing stories from the past don't get forgotten. Thanks a bunch. Now let's get back to Xerxes' march. The invasion of Greece began in 480 BC. As the massive Persian army moved south, many Greek city-states submitted without a fight, a practice known as Medizing. They offered earth and water, the traditional symbols of surrender to the Persian king. But a coalition of states, led by Sparta and Athens, resolved to resist. Their first stand was at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. Here, a small force of Greeks, famously led by 300 Spartans under King Leonidas, held off the entire Persian army for 3 days. While the film 300 portrays this as a battle of heroic, freedom-loving Westerners against monstrous, enslaved Easterners, the reality was a strategic defense. The Greeks used the narrow terrain to negate the Persians' numerical advantage. Xerxes was reportedly shocked by their resistance, but eventually, a local trader showed the Persians a mountain path to outflank the Greeks. Leonidas and his Spartans fought to the last man, creating a legend that has echoed through the ages. While a tactical victory for Xerxes, the battle was a morale booster for the Greeks, a symbol of defiance against overwhelming odds. After Thermopylae, the path to Athens was open. The city was evacuated, and when Xerxes arrived, he found it nearly empty. In retaliation for the burning of the Persian city of Sardis during the Ionian Revolt years earlier, Xerxes ordered Athens to be sacked and the Acropolis burned. This act, while brutal, was a calculated political move, a clear message to any other Greeks who dared to resist. For Xerxes, the mission was accomplished. The city that had defied his father was in ruins. He had avenged Persia's honor, but the war was far from over. The Athenian politician Themistocles had convinced his people to put their faith not in walls, but in their navy, their wooden walls. He lured the larger, more cumbersome Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, near Athens. Here, in the Battle of Salamis, the course of history changed. Xerxes watched from a golden throne set up on a hillside as his mighty fleet was systematically destroyed by the smaller, more maneuverable Greek triremes. The Greeks knew their home waters, and they used that knowledge to ram and board the Persian ships, causing chaos and panic. It was a devastating defeat. Herodotus claims Xerxes tore his robes in despair. His naval supremacy was shattered, and his army supply lines were now vulnerable. Fearing he would be trapped in Europe, Xerxes decided to return to Persia, leaving his general Mardonius with a still large army to complete the conquest. The following year, at the Battle of Plataea, the combined Greek forces decisively defeated Mardonius's army, ending the Persian invasion for good. So, was Xerxes' invasion a total failure? From the Greek perspective, absolutely. They had defended their homeland against impossible odds. But from a Persian perspective, it's more complicated. Xerxes had successfully punished Athens, quelled rebellions, and secured his empire's borders. He returned to Persia not in disgrace, but as a king who had led the largest military expedition in history and accomplished his primary objective. The narrative of his humiliating defeat is largely a product of his enemies, the victors who wrote the history. After the Greek campaign, Xerxes turned his attention from warfare to architecture. He embarked on a massive building program in his capitals, Susa and Persepolis. He completed many of the projects his father Darius had started, and he added his own magnificent structures, including the Grand Hall of 100 columns and his own palace at Persepolis. The inscriptions he left behind don't speak of a defeated king. They portray a pious ruler, devoted to the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda, and a powerful monarch who ruled a vast, multicultural empire. He boasts, "I am Xerxes, the great king, king of kings, king of countries containing all kinds of men." This is the image he wanted to project, one of divine right and immense power. The final years of Xerxes' life are shrouded in court intrigue. In 465 BC, after a 21-year reign, he was assassinated. The most likely culprits were Artabanus, the commander of his royal bodyguard, and a powerful eunuch. The plot placed his son, Artaxerxes I, on the throne. This violent end was not uncommon in the Persian court, a world of shifting allegiances and deadly ambition. Xerxes' legacy is a complex one. In the West, thanks to Greek writers and Hollywood, he is the ultimate symbol of Oriental despotism, arrogant, decadent, and ultimately defeated by the virtues of freedom and democracy. But in the East, he is remembered as a great king in the Achaemenid dynasty, a builder, a commander, and a ruler who presided over a period of immense power and cultural richness. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle. He was a man of his time, a product of a culture of absolute monarchy, driven by ambition, duty, and a profound belief in his divine mandate to rule the world. His story is a powerful reminder that history is often written by the winners, and the villain of one story is the hero of another. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the life of Xerxes. I hope it gave you a new perspective on this incredible historical figure. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the past. Let me know in the comments which historical figure you want to see me cover next. Until then, keep questioning what you think you know. See you in the next video.